we're good to go. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to State of the Game episode 2 here. Yes, we made it to a whole second episode. Bakery's face palming already. I'm not sure why. I said State of the Game, not State of the Nexus. That's why. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to State of the Nexus episode 2. I'm still back in my StarCraft days. I don't understand what's going on. My name is Kaelaris, and alongside me is Bakery, Dreadnought, and Gerd. They're going to go through their names and their intros, and they're going to tell you who they are, because we're going to do that every week, and then eventually Bakery and Dread are going to be angry. Bakery, why don't you take it away, buddy?
I'm Bakery. I'm the support and team captain for Team Dignitas. We recently won in Katowice and secured ourselves a spot in the Global Championship in Seoul, which also means that we can only play one qualifier for the next regional.
Wow, we're starting off with shots. This is going to be a good episode. I mean...
Yep, that was a thing. I'll just put my little ESL logo up. There we go. Thanks. All right, go on, Dread. Your turn.
I'm Dreadnought, ex-captain, shot caller, support player for Tempo Storm. Now turned kind of streamer, YouTuber, host, caster. That's probably in the wrong order. I probably should put caster first now. But kind of trying to just dabble in a little bit of everything. Other than that, nothing too surprising. I will be actually providing less salt this episode than Bakery, which is not going to be probably the norm. So this is going to be a good time.
Yeah, I'll have to agree with that one. And then, of course, finally, we have our guest on the show. It is Gerd with his blanket. I'm glad you got that out for us, buddy. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty fine. So I'm basically the opposite of Bakery, support player, but got wrecked in Katowice, and we're playing all the qualifiers for the next one. So thanks a lot, Blizzard.
Oh, God. I didn't want to be edgy, boys. I didn't want to be edgy.
Nah, don't worry. Got you covered.
Thanks very much. Well, thank you, Gerd, for coming on already. Just thought I'd throw that out there now. We've got a few topics to cover today. We are going to start things off with old patch fallout. Now, what does that mean? That means that we're going to look at the previous patch that happened. Not the actual previous patch, the one with the Rhaegar change, but the one before that, that came out just after Katowice, and had a few changes going on for some of the heroes. So all of my co-hosts do or should have a handy link to actually what has gone on with that, which is on the document that I shared with you, Dread. I see you nodding your head, shaking your head. So thanks very much, man. And we are going to start with... I wanted to start at the very top, but we're just going to start with Vala, because we've had a lot of talks about Vala since then. We had a lot of talks about her at Katowice, but she was much, much different than Dread. Now... she's kind of come into her own a little bit more. What are we thinking of Vala here since the last patch?
I like her. I don't think she's gonna be. I feel like she's quite to the universal kind of strength that right now. I think she's still kind of a situational-ish. But I mean, she's insanely more powerful than before. We were kind of going over what do we like in terms of build, whether or not it's going to be AA or a multi-shot hybrid. I personally like the utility of the multi-shot hybrid, but I think both definitely have a place.
Yeah, I can only agree with that. Like, I can totally still see Q-Build coexisting with multi-shot hybrid, like range and then take the slow later on, maybe go for Executioner. But I don't really like the full commitment for the auto attack, even though I used to play that quite a lot back in the old days. But like when I used to play Assassin, but yeah, we actually played against it today, and like on Curse Hollow, like when you're trying to cap a tribute and getting baited into a choke point, especially with the buffs for Reign of Vengeance, you completely get slaughtered if you try to chase a bit, and. I really like the way they buffed up Vala a bit since Li Ming, and with all the like strong heroes, hopefully like we get to touch on that later on, DEHAKA will be broken as well. I like the changes they made to her, and she feels like she can go for the auto attacks while still committing for like kind of a caster build. So yeah, perfect for me or for my assassin. Chris loves it.
How about yourself?
Okay. I'm actually on the other side of this. I actually don't like the changes at all. Like, I like the direction. So, multi-shot.
Wait. You can't open with saying you don't like the changes, but it's in the right direction. Because like that's like exactly. It's not perfect. Like she's not suddenly like, but I mean, it's going there. You know.
Well, no, but I mean, I feel like she's weaker. Like,
Okay, I get
every
it.
time
Really?
that I play with her, and every time that I see her do something, the only time is someone tries to 1v1 her, and then she's like auto attack build, and so she wrecks them, or like they all funnel into a choke point, and then she lands a sick rain. Those are the only two scenarios right now where I see Vala doing well. Every other one, she feels much worse.
Okay.
I see where you're coming from and agree. Okay, so I think you're over exaggerating a little bit, but I do totally agree with where you're coming from. I don't think that she's like suddenly way worse of a hero. I agree that like she excels far better in like a small scenario, but considering the entire team fight, most of the time she's going to be less effective than maybe she kind of was before. But I mean, I feel like I don't totally hate where she is right now. I guess I feel like she's still not a perfect hero by any means, but I very much feel like this is one of the few changes that moved her into a direction that is pretty neat, because now I feel like number one, I feel like auto attackers are some of the least relevant heroes in the type like in the game overall. I think buffing heroes to be auto attack centric is one of the most necessary, almost as bad as the support problem that existed before they started worrying about supports in the double ban implementation. So I absolutely agree with where you're coming from, but I think this is one of the healthiest changes and adjustments in a direction on a hero, almost out of any change in Heroes of the Storm.
Any thoughts on that, Gerd?
No, I can't add more to that. Like, I actually don't know what's like point of the discussion. Like, we all like the direction, and I think it's just up to like every team or however they want to implement it to like rate how strong it is. So I think she's just fine right now, and they could maybe move her a bit into. I actually don't really know what Bakery wants her to be, but I feel like she's just fine. Like, I don't know what else to say towards
Like,
that.
so the issue I had was I don't feel like multi-shot needed to be nerfed.
Oh, okay. Well,
Multi-shot
yeah.
was already an under-damaged ability if you compare to anything else. Like, it's got the same mana cost and the same cooldown as Grey Main Q, but even now it's like 50 damage lower. Like, it makes no sense to me that like is an ability, and like just comparing to even like Tychus Grenade, which is again the same cooldown, it's like 100 damage lower. Like, it just makes no sense to me how they nerfed this ability, which was already the weakest in its class, which is an AoE kind of range ability. And like when she wasn't even a good hero, like nobody was having issues dealing with multi-shot. I feel like buffing the auto attack, leaving multi-shot where it was the correct choice. But I mean, like,
okay.
I 100% agree with what Dred said about pushing auto attack heroes more. Like, I feel like in general, a few months ago when they did the scaling changes, a lot of the numbers in the game were kind of broken. Specifically like Kaelaris. And I like the fact that they're pushing sustained damage more. That's something I said at the time. I like the fact that we're seeing, in general, burst damage go down.
Makes sense, I think. Overall, though, I mean, like, getting on towards the later levels, she can do still a lot of damage. You see the serious attack builds. We saw the multi-shot build with Frost Shot in Korea, which is something that we'll get onto later, like the Korean scene and stuff like that. But overall, I think that something that is very, very scary that you already brought up is the Reign of Vengeance numbers that have come along. Is Reign of Vengeance now in a state where it's almost rendering Strafe obsolete?
I actually 100% think it is. I'll explain kind of why in a second. I want everybody else to kind of talk a little bit about it. I'll explain why I think, not because because Strafe is terrible, but the style that it promotes. It's a weird argument. So we'll let other people kind of give their thoughts on it. But
Yeah, like if you want to get the maximum out of the auto attack buff, I just don't see a point for like opting into going into Strafe, and I feel like I mean it's pretty straightforward. The moment you run into a Rain of Vengeance, you probably fucked up at first, but
Yeah.
it's like just the pressure of that going to happen, so you can't just chase with all of our mobility heroes right now trying to, after one lockdown, chasing for a kill or something. I think that's like pressure enough just to pick it and then not use it maybe for the first 5 seconds of a fight, but the moment the enemy overextends, you can just pop it and punish with it. So I think it's at a very it's just way better than Strafe right now, I would say. A bit map dependent, as I said. Like on Cursed Hollow, I can totally see it work. Uh, on Garden, maybe if you chase a bit too much, like in bushes, I don't see it working out that great on Tomb or something. If you're not getting the enemy right at a pay-in point or something, but yeah, like taking the map into consideration, I think it's way better than Strafe.
Yeah, like, so the reason why I dislike multi-shot being nerfed is because it also takes a lot away from the safe.
That was my argument, so I'm glad you said that. Yeah.
Before one of her niches, like she obviously has a lot of niches with her 3 different builds, but one of them was to punish low sustain healers, such as Tassadar and Uther, by using multi-shot build and then strafing. And right now, because of the nerf to multi-shot, it made strafe a lot less attractive because that style, she's no longer good at doing it. There are other heroes that are a lot better at doing it. If you pick the Valor, you pretty much need to go for the auto-attack build and take Rain of Vengeance. So, yeah, I mean, strafe, I don't think strafe needs to be changed. I think multi-shot needs to be buffed up, back up a bit again.
I definitely agree when it came to whether or not it made obsolete, like strafe obsolete. It's not so much that strafe is obsolete; it's that the things that complemented strafe are obsolete. So because of that, strafe in itself has fallen out. Because like last night, for instance, I was casting and I watched a full strafe get hit about 4 different times, and each time I was just like, that's like no damage. I was just like, there's literally 0 damage being done. And I was like, why does strafe feel so unimpactful right now? Like, and I realized it was like, it's because there's not a huge W coming out before and then a W coming out after. That spread damage was more the relevance than even the strafe in itself. So like, I do think the adjustment to the level 4 talent hurt her strafe more than like the buff to Rain of Vengeance did. So I definitely agree very much. I think that was the large adjustment to her that kind of made strafe almost no situation to where I see strafe actually being more valuable. Even though I do agree with Gerd on the sense that it's better on specific maps, I just feel like strafe is just so laughable right now. Even when you go full build to punish those type of healers that Bakery was talking about, which is exactly kind of her purpose with that build, it's still just like that's all you got. Like she risks positioning when she does that, right? Her playstyle is very Jaina-esque, if you will, but it's ensuring that 3 people will get very limited amount of health pools, especially against those weak style healers that can't deal with that AoE damage. But now when she risks her position to dive the backline to do that, now if she does that, she literally doesn't touch anybody. She just tickles them, and then she's like, guys, I'm out of position. Like, this sucks. And then she's just dead. So I think that 4 talent really hurt her.
All right, well, that's a lot on Valor, obviously being in a different state that we do have at the moment. Let's move on to some of the other heroes that were in that previous patch as well. Obviously, Zagara took a little bit of a hit, but have we really seen her fall off in the meta? I mean, with Devouring Maw and Hunter Killer being kind of hit a bit?
I would just say Zagara is still fine, but you don't have to pressure that pick that much. But that's mostly like it's not that much on the Hunter Killer changes or on the good old Tyrant Maw changes on level 20, which like blew me off my chair. So I just think it's she had her weaknesses before, but now that Xul is in the game, it's really hard to like just target ban a Falstad and then be sure that she wins her lane or something like that. It's just not going to happen that way. So I feel like the power play she still has in every team fight is her Maw, and it's annoying to play against because you always have to keep it in mind. even more than Rain of Vengeance, because I feel like you can use it more aggressively than like someone baiting you into a Rain of Vengeance. It's like if you hit one, it's still fine value, I would say. If you hit 4 people, you can maybe team wipe if you are like you manage to like stall the fight out fine before. So I feel like it's more about Xul coming into the game and Zonya still being fine and other picks right now going even in the lane. Like Thrall is still in the game. Uh, so I guess it's more on the other heroes being a bit stronger than her in like lane bully wise or going equal than her getting nerfed just a tiny bit last patch.
Okay. Other points on Zagara, guys?
I think that the nerf. I agree. I feel like the nerf to Maw was probably going to be the biggest struggle for her, and it's largely just because once more laners become relevant into a lane, or to a solo lane, like once solo laners get better and better and better, Zagara slowly falls out. Like she doesn't actually have that many outstanding features to her kit, other than one big maul, which is a great isolation tool. But if that becomes one of the longest cooldowns in the game, then it's no longer that awesome. And Zul being a power possible solo laner, but more than that, like Thrall also seeing rise to power in his kind of kit. Sonya, like he said, just as there's more solo laners, Zag slowly becomes like, why are we picking her?
Yeah.
She still has a lot of good things, but when you bring more solo laners and then you nerf her team fight, she definitely falls back. She's not bad because there's not enough I'll just straight kill you solo laners right now. Like there's like very few that are on kind of par with Thrall, but as the game and the power creep kind of moves that direction, she will need a lot of changes. I think she's okay for now. I think she's definitely way lower in the draft prioritization, but definitely not where she was.
Bakery, anything to add?
I don't actually agree with that. I think, like, the thing is Zagara does a job for a lot of European teams right now. And she brings like pushing, and she brings a kind of, I don't know how to describe it, but it's a weird kind of damage where it's not from you. Like you have a second source that deals most of your damage, right? So when there is sieging occurring, you put the double muter on the tank, and the tank literally runs away, and then his team have to kill the muters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's just the one muter. Like, stuff like that, the kind of zone control that she brings and the pushing in the early game that she brings is not matched by any other hero. We used to have a lot more pushing heroes in the meta, like Sylvanas, for example, and we used to have a bit more zone control in terms of stuff like Tyrael. But right now, she brings, like, the zone control and she brings the pushing. I honestly feel like these changes didn't really nerf her too much. They made her a weaker hero overall, which I feel like she needed because she was just doing everything a bit too well. But she still does her niche. And until we see stuff like Sylvanas come back up, then I feel like she's still going to have a place in pretty much every game.
Right. Overall, from team fight to team fight, when I watch pro games, it always feels kind of like the cooldown impact of the increase on Maw doesn't have too much of an impact, but at the very, very highest level, is it certainly something to consider? Because I don't see a time where there are a lot of moments where you're like, this 20 seconds is really hurting me right now. But am I just wrong in this assessment?
I think at first it appears that way with most time nerfs, that you're like, man, that didn't really change it. But then over time you realize, like, people begin to realize I would have had this ultimate up during that time before. I think Uther's a good example of that. You just see an adjustment to the time, and it's enough to be like, okay, well, is this as relevant? Like, is this as good of an ultimate compared to some of its counterparts? Right. I agree with Bakery that I don't think she's irrelevant at all. I just think that she's not this, like, I mean, she had some of the, like, when you look at her stats over every region, right? She's one of the few that's universally not only been involvement rate, but high as, like, one of the highest win rates. Yeah. And I don't think she's anywhere near that, like, anymore. I do agree that I think she definitely has a spot. It's just not this, I mean, she was literally one of the most successful heroes in the entire game, almost ever, I think, across the board. Only other one to compare would be Jaina. I think is the only other hero for a period of time that like kind of had what she did. So.
Oh, okay, let's move on from Zagara a little bit here. Let's move on to something that's dear and near to Bakery's heart. Karazim changes. We spoke about them before they actually hit or whatever, but how have they impacted things? We could even look as far as to say, like, how is the support role fitting as a whole at the moment, even around Karazim? Because it seems like Karazim hasn't taken too much of a hit with these changes, and in fact has kind of found himself in an alright place indeed.
It's interesting you should say take a hit, because that was definitely a buff. That was definitely a buff.
Oh, yeah. I'm not saying otherwise. It's just the kind of, like, the fact that supports now are in a very interesting place where there isn't actually, like, that many at top tier to really choose from. But talk to us about Karazim a little bit, and then kind of the support role as a whole, because it's kind of in an odd place right now, I would say.
So I actually think right now, let me think for a second if I forgot one of the healers. I think Karazim right now is the only healer that not only like in competitive, or I hope so, like we will see in Korea, I guess, but also in Hero League and Quick Match is the only healer or support that is actual fun and you feel like you have an impact. Like, yeah, we all agree on that it was a buff, but like he was fine before, but now that you can pick cleanse and you actually have a lot more burst heal, which, yeah, let's face it, like most of the situations in this game are about being able to burst heal and close a gap between like you and the target that needs your help. So Karazim, I feel like, is above every other support right now and is also the most fun and entertaining kit. So. Good job on that, Blizzard, but check the others out. We have a useless tree since a few months, a stupid fairy dragon. We tried a bit of Uther and Katowice. I mean, I guess everyone saw what happened. I don't know. Like, I really enjoy Karazim, but it's one of maybe two that, yeah, I enjoy playing in my free time right now just because of how screwed the support role is.
Yeah, I think Gerd pretty much nailed it. Karazim's the only support right now, and he provides the second best burst heal behind Uther. He provides the second best saving tool behind Uther. But he provides the best sustain heal in the game. He's the hardest to kill in the game.
Yep.
And he provides the most frontline pressure since the Rhaegar nerfs. So he just does everything better than everybody else. And that's kind of insane. Like, we definitely need to see him doing less sustain healing. Like, maybe a higher cooldown on his W. Or we need to see things like Malfurion and things like Medic get buffed.
Gerd, over in NA, like especially during the regional a little bit, we did see those medic bans coming out. Is there enough support in the meta right now to the point where like there can be a lot of diversity? Because there's even the potential right now where some people believe that there are so few supports in the meta right now that you can get like banned out quite easily and pushed into odd situations.
I think there's enough supports. It comes down to whether or not their talents allow them to do enough of certain types of healing, right? So it's like because each healer can like only do one type of healing for the most part, other than like Karazim is kind of that jack of all trades right now when it comes to like how he heals. But like Uther, where it's very single target centric, like if you're on Uther and you just burst one target and Uther burns his heal, you're like, well, just kill anybody because it's forever before he can heal again. He's only got one option. So it's literally like, I think it's not so much that the healers, I want to see more supports in the game, but I think it's more the how they heal. That's kind of the problem. They don't worry about filling multiple one style roles, so it is kind of easy to be banned out. I do think Karazim is really strong right now. I don't know if I would say that I think he's an absolute legend, but I definitely think he's really strong compared to the other healers. For the first time, I actually would agree that I think Karazim's probably higher on the spectrum than most.
Okay, so
I still think Pawn's overrated.
Sorry, Bakery. Sorry. So I mean, okay, let's look at the supports that we have right now and kind of give them tiers, or at least like the prioritization, because this is something that is kind of important. Like the fact that there is the Karazims, and like even in Europe we have the Tassadars being quite high. Rhaegar is still considered quite high, but we're going to get onto the new patch in a moment. So like where do you guys kind of rate all the supports right now?
I haven't tried medic that much, I have to admit. So I would probably rank medic quite high if you get a solid frontline, but I think Karazim above everyone, and then medic and Rhaegar kind of have the same issue. Like, they can never go aggressive. Monk has Relentless on 13, which is completely stupid. So
I know. That sounds fine. That I can say.
So you can actually do things with a support, which is really nice, I have to admit. So I would rank Monk above everyone, then probably Rhaegar medic if you get a solid frontline and like double tank or Zonya stitches, whatever. Like just apply pressure and have a decent escape tool.
Right.
And then probably Brightwing Uther together. I have been enjoying Brightwing quite a lot these days. Even though it's nowhere near close being able to effectively burst here, and you're completely screwed if your tank engages like the moment you port it in, and you end up at his position, and you just get double storm bolted or danced on by ETC. It's like you can't do nothing. So Brightwing and Uther probably together, even though they have complete different healing styles. And then, yeah, I saw Korea playing quite a lot of Malfurion. I can't really find a grip on this hero. Like, I've not been enjoying him.
That's mainly just Jaehoon. Jaehoon's like one trick, so.
I mean, I guess, yeah, that's basically it.
Okay.
Like, Lily, I'm not even.
No, that's fine. She's got a new skin coming. It's fine. Don't worry.
That's what I wanted to see.
Yeah, exactly. How about you other fellas? Dread, Bakery, do you kind of agree with the tier list that we're seeing from Gerd? Dread, you might have some differing opinions being from NA.
Yeah, the only one I would, he gave a lot of credit to Maras. That's the only one that I think, when it comes to, I feel like a lot of the regions notoriously kind of agree on where most of the supports sit. The only large difference is like, I would say maybe solo support Tassadar is going to be a little bit more common in Europe than it would be in North America. And then I would say Karzin's a little bit higher, but then also you guys just significantly put Morales just far lower than North America. I think those are really kind of the only two major gaps. There's a little bit difference, but just that's like the only major gap. And I think Morales is definitely not a universally powerful hero, but in the right compositions, she just it's so hard to be able to deal with her. And I think a lot of it comes down to not so much the strength or underestimation of the strength of the hero. It's more of all just the overall meta. Like Europe very much has been kind of just hyper engaged double tanks for some time, for a large portion of time for that matter. And Morales kind of struggles into that for some, depending on the map and everything else. But she definitely has a place. And I think we'll see her for probably all regions, maybe a little bit of contention at Worlds. Maybe not Europe, but I think in maybe NA and Korea.
Bakery, how about yourself?
I disagree with both. I think Brightwing's really bad. I think obviously Tassadar wasn't mentioned by Gerd, I don't think.
No, but we can get to that.
Yeah, I think sometimes Tassadar's like the best. If you like, especially on Tomb, like, and they don't have a poke comp, I think he's the best. And I think at lowest he's probably third best, unless they have like Lunar Greymane or something like that. I'd also rate Mouth a lot higher. As some people know, I've been playing Moonfire Malfurion, which is incredibly fun. And I think it's actually pretty good in some situations. If you do not need the burst heal, then you can take Moonfire Mouth and you stand off incredibly well. Because you force them to do something. Because if they just stand there and take the poke, then they're going to need to eventually back off from wherever it is. If it's an objective, if it's a wall, if it's a fort, they need to back off unless they make something happen. And since you have so much sustain healing, if you take your level 7 Enduring Growth, then it's not like they can poke you off it either. And you deal with so much poke to them that it basically forces them to engage. And as soon as they engage, like they need to engage hard, you just pop the trank, and then you win the fight. So I feel like in some situations, Mouth's actually a pretty good pick playing that style. But other than me rating Brightwing really, really low and Mouth fairly high, I'd put him on the same tier as Uther. I don't think there's too many changes.
Yeah, so the reason why I actually forgot about Tasada is that the past days even though I always played it, I haven't enjoyed him. Due to the nature of EU meta, always having Lunara, Li Ming, or Greymane or whatever, and you just slowly die in team fights due to the fact that the enemy team pokes you, and you can only respond with shields towards that. So if your frontline, yeah, of course, like you have a Stitches or you have some ETC groupies, you can definitely like somehow get the healing in with like different picks, and your frontline can somehow sustain. But I feel like it's really odd. Besides Tomb, I agree with that, just because of how strong he is on the rotation, to actually heal in a fight. So I would just, I don't know, like he doesn't heal at all. So besides the level 4 talent, trying to wreck a bit with auto attacks, for me, he doesn't supply enough for team fights these days. And regarding Tyrant, I think that what My Insanity did in Katowice might still be a thing with like Rega Tyrant having a double support comp, building around poke, getting a good frontliner in, and then protecting the Rega. But yeah, I feel like Tasada is not as strong as I used to rate him, even though I can agree on Tomb that it's all about the rotation and he supplies what you need for that to like body your enemy. So yeah, I don't know. And Malf, I just hate this guy. Don't get me started.
Dread, you've been sat there looking contemplative during all of this.
Some of the statements I find are interesting. I personally have felt like Malfurion's never been that bad of a pick. Like that fact that he's been completely neglected. So the fact Baker even brings up that it's like a certain that you can run with Moonfire, which is something I obviously haven't gotten to test at all, but it's something I find an interesting argument. But I feel like, I don't know. I feel like he underestimates Brightwing. I see why he doesn't like Brightwing. I definitely get it. I don't think Brightwing is a universally good pick. She's very map and comp dependent. But is she terrible? I don't think so. She's definitely not on the same level as some of the others when you consider what is a solo support. But as a hero in the game, viability and utility that she can bring is something that is unrivaled. She has a global and a hard CC that's like, 3 seconds when spec'd into? I mean, it can be rewound and it provides a bonus utility. Like, she has a lot of really good things going for her, and in certain situations, definitely relevance. But the only thing I even kind of I agree with a lot of the statements on Tassadar. I don't like him very often as solo support, but I definitely do think that certain maps he gains a lot of relevance, I guess.
Things like Cursed Hall.
Don't get me wrong. I played it every game. Like literally every game I was playing with old, alternate now My Insanity. I just wanted Tasada because 12 seconds force wall. I mean, even in WCA, the Koreans never having to play against the Tasada. The fucking MVP Black just fell 3 times for getting force walled off. It's like, I don't know, if you want to beat Korea, pick a bit of Tasada maybe, but I can just not see it work right now with how much poke there is in the game. Like, if the enemy has a Lunara or a Li Ming, I remember Katowice playing against Reason Gaming, Zamoni with Tasada got one shot 3 times when he was on 18% HP because he couldn't get the level 13 talent out. It's like, I just want those things never to happen in competitive, because I don't want to lose against like a random anticipation of Li Ming or Lunara, chunking my backline to half HP or like just completely wrecking them. So I dislike Tasada these days just for those reasons.
Was that intended or a bug? Because they argued that the prescience is the 13, the name of the 13. They argued that that was the adjustments to make it not go off when you would take lethal damage. So in theory, if you take more than 15% maximum health damage, it will not proc. You'll just die. Whereas before it would 100% proc. So it's so like, is it a bug or not?
Well,
no.
So what would happen is you would die, and then the ability would go on cooldown for 45 seconds. And obviously that was like
it would
the
go
ability
off?
is on cooldown. And so they fixed it, so instead of going on cooldown, it doesn't cast. But you still died.
Are you
before
sure?
and after.
And it goes on
100%,
cooldown.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize it went on cooldown if you died like over the thing anyway.
I knew that part. I just figured that they wanted it to be that it would not go off unless it, like, if you received lethal damage, that it wouldn't actually be usable. So essentially, if somebody was to time 15% of your max health, it was like essentially a skill-based adjustment, right? But that's interesting to see if that's actually how it was intended, if the double E should always hit, or if it's a kind of a skill-based bug. I'm trying to figure out how. Does anybody remember what patch that was? I want to read how they worded it.
That was a while back.
It was a while back.
Hmm.
But while we're on Bastions quickly, by the way, there's nothing that tilts me harder than a Thrall basic attack killing me through Prescience.
What, because it hits that hard, or because...
It does more than 15%. So he just basic attacks me when I'm on 20%, and then it kills me. And I'm like, that's a basic attack. Like, that's not the point.
Are they higher
Is that
level than
just
you at the time?
Is it
No,
with
no,
the
it's
16?
like even levels. Yeah, it's 16.
With Tempest?
Oh, with the talent?
Yeah,
No
is that
idea.
what you're counting? Or are you just saying in
I
general,
guess it
his just
could
auto
be.
attack is actually 15%? Because if it's that,
Well,
then,
no.
but that hits in 3 different strikes, so it shouldn't actually. It should go off in theory still, because it's not a burst.
Yeah. There was one specific game where I die like 3 times to full auto attack, and I'm like trying to proc my prescience, and he just kills me through it, and I was so tilt. But like, I don't even rely on that talent anymore. Like, literally, I pop my E every single time, and if I don't have my E, I'm playing backline.
Right. I
Like,
see.
just because it's so risky to play with it.
So you're not taking it at all?
No, I mean, when I take it, like, and I have to pop my active E, I stand in the backline. Because when there was less burst in the game, you used to stand, like, behind their team as Tassadar and just annoy them. But now that stuff hits so hard, like, I feel like there's a 50-50 of it going off or not going off.
Yeah. That's a really good point, actually, that you make, because the game has changed in terms of the flow of how much burst there is compared to where it was before, for sure. And it feels like even things like auto attack Valor, when she gets her crits going at the very end, like towards the end of her build, is doing big chunks of damage compared to where she previously was. So you've got Li Ming in there now, you've got Grey Ming cocktails, which aren't as strong as they used to be. Again, we'll get onto that in new patch discussions. So the game is definitely in a different state for sure. Does anybody else have any kind of points that they want to make about old patch before we move on to the new one?
The exact wording is the lethal damage will no longer improperly trigger the cooldown for Tacitus Prescient talent. So both Bakery's interpretation and my interpretation are both correct by that wording. So it's really, I want to know
So it shouldn't be
what their
triggering.
actual intent. In theory, it shouldn't be triggering.
Right.
But the question is maybe because Bakery was talking about how it would go off no matter what, even if he just died, right? So like that was the bug that they were trying to fix.
That's
really
what I
interested.
assumed it was.
I want to know if they want to. I would really want to know if Blizzard thinks the double E is just unhealthy for the game, or if that they think that they just wanted to fix that bug and they really messed up and forced another one. That's something I've never thought about. That's really interesting.
Yeah, that is. Huh. I didn't even realize that was the case, but well, there you go. As I say, anybody any more things on the old patch before we get gone?
I think Greymane got buffed.
What, in the old patch?
Yeah.
Wait, he's not even in the old... Oh, he was in the old
With
patch.
his auto attacks adjustment.
Yeah.
They buffed his auto attacks, And when you play Worgen and you get the 40% bonus, he's hitting so hard right now.
Yeah.
Like, so we were playing a bit with some of the more squishy heroes, and we were playing against Greymane with Tyrande, and they took the increased damage, and literally our heroes were getting one shot in an E, a Q, and like so like E auto attack, Q auto attack, and it was literally one shotting our heroes, and we were playing with not a burst healer, so it felt impossible to do anything, and they weren't even ahead in levels.
That's pretty crazy. When in terms of the build, are they still going the blunderbuss at 20, or are they going? Because I can't remember who it was. I saw them going for the extra damage on Worgen form, not blunderbuss. But I always thought it was usually blunderbuss that people were going for at level 20.
I've never seen Worgen splash. I think
I didn't. I can't remember where it was. It might have. I'll look it up. It might have been Australian, actually, when I was studying them. It was a bit weird.
Oh, nice one.
I'll look it
Bait.
up. All right, okay. Anyway, so Greymane, good hero still, and doing very well. All right, we can move on then from old patch. We're going to move over to new patch. And once again, guys, you do have another link that you can open for that. There's not many changes in the new patch, although mine's loading really slowly. Okay, there we go. So let's start with Nova.
Is it flickering?
And, I swear to God.
Sorry,
Got him.
Got him.
it's too easy.
It's terrible. I can't help it. I'm so sorry. I'm going to try and fix it for next week. At least we got the disconnect thing sorted, though. That's completely sorted. I got a new router. The dude came over. He was very nice. He was like, "Ja, das ist wunderbar," and then fixed it. So, it's a bit of German for Gerd.
Nice.
Yeah, perfect. All right, so Nova. What state is she in right now? You guys been playing with her a little bit?
I played a bit. I think due to the fact that you still need a lot of D-push on most of the maps, like she just doesn't supply, or she doesn't help the team at all with that. I think she's more annoying than she's ever been in like Hero League and Quick Match though, because you can easily stack your snipe on the enemy front line, and at some point you're just gonna like two-shot the enemy Leoric. I don't know in which way it is healthy to like her style of play that she used to have. Like you can't try to flank and one-shot one of the backliners any longer, so she's more like kind of a sustained damage dealer now, like acting with a 4-second snipe or how like whatever low this cooldown is. I think she's just pretty fun for Hero League and Quick Match, but I don't see that big of a spot in competitive play, even though her late game numbers, if you get like the stacking snipe and it costs no mana later on, are crazy. But I think she doesn't help you out with early game in any way, and there's no way you can utilize her in like the first minutes in laning phase. So I don't really know what to think of her right now. I would rather just play her in Hero League and Quick Match and test her out a bit more, but maybe Bakery has some nice pocket struts for Korea already.
Bakey?
The issue with Nova, right, is she's never going to be in a state where she's a well-balanced hero with the kit that she has. Like, just the fact that she's got a targeted 40% slow, a straight line nuke that could only hit one target, and an ability that does no damage other than confuse the enemy team. Like, she's never, like, that kit just cannot be played in high level Hero League or in competitive until the numbers are so ridiculous on it that you cannot not pick that kit.
Yeah.
And I'm seriously scared that if we see one more round of Nova buffs, it's gonna get to the point where everyone's just like, Nova's
goes back to where
breaking,
she
she
was.
one shots everyone. Woo!
All right.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my thoughts on her.
I mean, I looked around at the numbers as saying, and I made notes on it or whatever. It's like, if you do have 5 stacks of Snipe Master, at level 14, she'll do 939 damage with a snipe on an undebuffed target, which is already quite a lot if you're going to continue hitting them, but is one of the major problems that she suffers from, the fact that she has absolutely zero potential to wave clear, and thus in a game could do 0 siege damage and still just try and fight things. But surely that's a huge problem or a huge issue for someone in that role, right?
It's like so here's the thing: is she has no wave clear, so it's like having 4 heroes on the map, just in terms of your map objectives, right? And then so let's say you win the fight, like you're playing Battlefield, which is one of the best maps. You win the fight, and then you go to the Immortal and you lose the 4v5 because your team only has 4 heroes on the Immortal because Nova can't use any of the abilities on it because none of them do any damage but snipe, and if she uses snipe, she loses all the stats. So that's the thing, is you need to get at least 2 kills with her. And it's going to get to the point where getting those 2 kills is going to be so easy that she's just broken.
I mean, that's kind of been her story the entire time of her existence. She's never seen a point where you're like, Nova's she's a good pick. She's all right. She's got a spot. It's always been, so this is going to be Cancer. Or it was like, now they threw the draft. It was just, she's never had a spot. And I think it kind of shows. I think there are some adjustments that can be made. I don't think it's 100% her kit. I do think she needs a little bit of rework on how her kit plays out. But it's just, I'd agree. I think there's a lot of other problems, and I do agree that I view her like an Illidan and an Abathur. Both of those heroes scare me when I see changes to them, because all it takes is like, you just take them from here to like here, and that's it. They're broken. And it's just like, oh gosh, please not this for the next month and a half. She's just, I don't know. I'm trying to do the math. I want to figure out Falstad at the same situation, because with the new mage stats, I've been impressed with how much damage he outputs.
With the boomerang change and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a factor of the old patch as well, like that we haven't really touched on, but at least he does have that kind of like ability to go into a different build as Falstad. Do we have any kind of other points on Nova here, or do we just think that she's in this very, very weird spot right now?
I think her talents are great. They did a great job with her talents when they reworked theirs.
But she just doesn't have the kit necessary to carry her into pro play.
Yeah. I agree with, I think it was the Wooby or something, what he wrote on the sheet you're collecting. It's like, no one wants Nova back ever, so just screw
really
it.
right
I can just agree on that. Like, I don't want her to be part of competitive play. I think it's a fun hero if you want to play at 4 AM with like one eye closed and try to stack your snipe a bit, have some fun. But besides that, like, I don't want a spot for Nova in competitive play. So
she should be the Lily of Assassins. She's fun if you just want to sit there and derp and quick match and have a good time. Hit him with the double water dragon, but should just don't even worry about competitive. Just have her there. I think part of the problem is she is, I think, still the most popular hero in the entire game. I might be wrong on that. That was for a while. She was the most popular hero across all levels. So they want her to be relevant and competitive, to be like kind of that appeal to like a large group of people. Maybe that might be some of the train of thought that Blizzard has, but I agree. I think she should just don't ever let her be relevant and competitive. Just have her be a derp. I trolled my friends in quick match game.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. I'm still messing around with my webcam things. For some reason, my second webcam now isn't flickering. I've got both of them plugged in now.
Switch it right now.
Oh no, it started again.
Sad.
There was an attempt. I'm so sorry. All right.
Anyway. Oh yeah, we can totally see you as well.
Yeah.
At 14, Falstad does 759 damage without any stacks at level 1 to give you kind of a comparative. So.
Right, that's 10-second cooldown compared to 3.
Oh, I mean, you're not wrong. I'm not saying that. Like, I think that I was just trying to get a frame of reference because, like, he was like, "This is how much damage it does," and I'm like, "Okay, well,
Yeah.
you know,
What
let
does
me
that
take a
mean?
second. What is something we see a little bit more now, and kind of the other adjustments? Where does it sit compared to Mage Dad? Because Mage Dad's he's a beast of his own right now. I don't know. He's so weird. His numbers are just insane at times. When you look at them, I think they're too much in a vacuum, but they're just crazy.
Is Mage Falstad something that is making its way into pro play? Are people seeing that a bit more now? Or
I don't know. Like my issue with Falstad, I think I might have mentioned this before, is I feel like one of these builds, either auto attack or Mage Stat, is always going to be mathematically better. In pretty much any given scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Mage Stat does not poke well. A lot of people think that he pokes well, and he does in the lower levels. But in competitive, if anyone's getting hit by that power throw, then they must be not looking at their screen, because you have like 10 seconds to dodge that thing.
Yeah. That and like the one tool. So typically, kind of with Mage Stat, you have the opportunity to spec at level 4 for the CDR while your passive is going to be active, which then provides his poking even better. But then realistically, you're then sacrificing the range, which makes his abuse of Fog of War to make that poke be even more and more viable at a large amount of distance. Now is at what you said was like a 10-second cooldown, whereas that would have adjusted it to more of a 5. So it's like that trade-off at that tier provides Mage Stat to be a poke. Like it kind of cripples it really heavily.
All right.
Yeah, but I guess it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like I do enjoy playing it, and I think the concept is fine behind it. So like competitive wise, as Bakery said, we will always like go for the build that we think is just stronger by numbers, and like offers the like better trade-off at like any given time without being random. So for Hero League quick match or like the just like no buying around with Falstad, it's still really fun though. So I like the changes, even though they might not have as much as like of an impact than like actual changes that are relevant to competitive scene.
All right.
Well, I think they could be. I mean, like if Mage Stat, I think there's a chance that Mage Stat replaces auto attack altogether. But I just feel like we're only ever going to see one in competitive once it settles. It's only going to be Mage Stat or it's only going to be auto attack. It was never going to be a mix because they do the same kinds of damage other than power throw poke. But as I said, I don't think you can ever land that.
It's fair play. Fair play. All right, moving on to Rhaegar. This is going to be fun. Okay, so let me just quickly read out for people and just to kind of prompt them as to how he's been changed. One change. Ancestral healing can no longer be self-cast. Bakery, how are you enjoying this one?
I absolutely hate this change. I hated it when I read it, and I hated it even more when I played it. Because every single... So I was streaming today, right? I was so frustrated. I was trying to explain why it was so bad. And I kept diving in and suiciding and then saying, well, I would have Ancestral there if I could have, you know? Like,
right.
That's what I wanted to do. I was just baiting them with Ancestral, and then I couldn't use it, so I died. Like, I got so tilt. Like, I don't know. I just hate the change.
I heard that was happening in scrims too. Is that a thing?
Nah, I don't think that happened in scrims.
I don't know. Yeah, 10 out of 10. Like, I can't add more to that. It's just, as I said earlier, that's literally the reason why I just have to play Monk 24/7 now, because besides Monk, I don't enjoy any other healer. Like, I don't know. Competitive, obviously, it's a different thing, but just playing Hero League or whatever, it's so annoying to rely on a guy that you can't talk to, or like maybe he's your duo queue partner and you like can actually make it work, but not being able to self-cast it is not only confusing for newer players, as Bakery summed up pretty well, and I think you like did an overview on the latest patch or something like that, if I remember correctly. So it's not only confusing, but also the reasoning Blizzard gave is, I mean, I can completely agree with that. He maybe has a bit like too tanky stats, but what does the ancestral have to do with it? Like, I don't know. I just don't see the reasoning being right here in this nerf.
Just to hop on that point quickly, a lot of people I've heard are suggesting, how about make it 50% when you cast in yourself? And my reply to that is that it doesn't solve the issue that Blizzard wanted. They're like, he's just too hard to kill, right? Like you catch him out and then you use an Ancestor, he runs away. He overheals super hard with Ancestor right now. If you reduce it to 50%, it still heals like 70% of his HP bar. So when he gets caught in the side lane, he's still going to blow Ancestor on himself. He's still going to heal to 4, and he's still going to get away. So that hasn't solved the issue anyway. And then, like, in the team fight, it still causes the same issues because you don't want 50% of Ancestor healing. You want 100%. So you're still going to play in the backline. Like, so I feel like that's literally the worst of both worlds right there. But I just saw a lot of people saying that was a good change. I didn't like it too much.
How about you, Gerd? Are you annoyed as well?
I mean, I've pretty much said how I feel about the situation. It's not even whether or not it's a balanced thing for me. It's more of just the approach to the game. I think that Rhaegar is in a spot where he is too strong, at least before this adjustment. And I think that just kind of the approach to his nerf is just, I feel like I don't like that I see, well, let's just take things away from supports. Let's just keep doing this. Like, hey, guys, we don't really know how to deal with this. Let's just make sure supports can't use it with themselves. Like, I don't like that approach to the game. I get it that, like, he's a hard character to nerf, because I really do. I really think he's actually very difficult to adjust right now. Like I said, my suggestion was, I personally think look at his health. I think his health is one of the biggest problems with him. It will definitely hurt his aggression. Everything will hurt his aggression. But I think if you at least allow him to still have the opportunity to outplay his opponents, I think that's crucial. You don't need to make supports to where I would rather you make it to where supports can outplay their opponents, but it's very, very difficult to do so, than you just not let supports outplay their opponents. And that would be a prime example. I think his nerf will make it to where, to his health, would make it to where it's very difficult for him to actually do the things that he wants to do. He has to be very conscious of who he bites onto, who he moves into, where he's rotating, who he's healing. But still, if that moment happens where he's like, man, you know what? There's just enough people. I can bait this. I can outplay this. I'm going to throw it out there, hit you with the Ancestral. He should have the opportunity to do so. So for me, it's not even whether or not it's balanced. For me, it's just the approach and how they are adjusting the game. And cleanse is another example. I don't think cleanse should be free use, that suddenly everybody can, like, you get a cleanse and you get a cleanse, and it's just like it goes everywhere like it was. But at the same time, I feel like you need to leave the opportunity for that guy to be able to go, like, you know what, if I just 0.2 time this, I can get out of the CC, which is going to be a huge misplay. Like, I can bait this ultimate, which is going to be influential to the success of my team. You should leave the support role to do that. It shouldn't be easy, but you should have the opportunity to. And the argument Blizzard had before was that the game was so noob friendly that we couldn't do those type of things. But adjusting Rhaegar the way you did, definitely saying you're pulling away from that. So just why not make it hard to do those things right now? Okay. And I'm just afraid for I feel like this is, I might be too early to say, but like I said, when I released my video, I feel like it's a step for the entire support role in the wrong direction. I feel like it's really scary. And I feel like support's probably the role that Blizz has had the most difficult understanding on what they wanted to do with since the release of the game. Yeah,
it kind of seems that way. Like, Tassadar went through a lot of changes, and everyone was always like, why is he even the support for a long time? And things like that always came into play. But let's move on from Rhaegar, because we could talk about him for hours and supports for hours, considering the lineup of people that we've got here. Let's move on to Zul in this new patch, because right now, I'm not going to read off every single change. People should probably be familiar with it, but overall, his damage numbers have been decreased, but it still feels like he is very, very strong. And also Curse Strike's attack speed, a slow amount, has been reduced from 50% to 40%. So he still feels kind of strong, though. What do you guys think at the moment?
Yeah, I think he was a bit too overpowered when they brought him out, but I'm fine with that. Like, I actually think that even though that was one patch earlier, the way that they nerfed Li Ming was a clever approach as well. Like, even though she's still quite annoying to play against, I feel like heroes, due to the nature of the game, that you have to play with your 5 teammates, and the actual enjoyment you get out of it is by chaining up abilities together. I feel like newer players, or like especially actually younger players, always want to feel like they are superior, or they can at least outplay their enemy. So the direction that Blizzard goes with their new heroes, after we had some good old Artanis coming in, um, is the right direction at all. Is the right direction after all. And then like just adjusting the numbers a bit after they see that Xul just skyrockets is completely fine with me. And I still think he's a tier 1 pick, like he used to be. So I don't really mind the changes too much. And maybe his kit regarding his CC is a bit too straightforward, like point and click adventure and lock someone down, try to burst him. Like, it opens up a bit too many possibilities, I feel like. They could actually, I don't know, they could maybe do it like a Nazeebo zombie wall, that you can, like, that one of those minions that spawns together with it, you can attack it and be released out of it, because I feel like it's a bit too powerful. So, but besides that, I think he's in a good spot, and I want like other heroes that are less powerful right now to be buffed, rather than Li Ming and Xul getting nerfed more, because I want every player on my team to feel special about his kit, and I think Xul does a good job on that, while maybe being a bit too overpowered. But I would rather buff other picks than nerfing Xul once more.
Okay. Dread Bakery.
I agree with a lot of what he said when it comes to Xul. I don't think that he can ever be like terrible because of his E. I do like the reason I actually, so his 2-second snare is just insane. But the one thing that I actually will compliment Blizzard for is at least they made it very, so number one, the reaction time that you get to the spell. And then number 2 is the animation is very obvious. And I know that sounds stupid when you're like balancing a hero, you're like, the animation be obvious. What does that have to do? But when you allow that opportunity for when it's blatantly obvious, this individual is going to be snared for 2 seconds. It allows, at least from a solo queue, for people to adapt accordingly, to be like, oh yeah, whereas like when it's some of the other spells are a little bit harder to see, like a Stitch's Hook is actually kind of harder to see if you don't know what you're looking for type deal, whereas Xul, it's pretty straightforward. So I do like that about him. I think his kit just does too much for him to ever be terrible. And I think the nerf was definitely needed. I don't know exactly where he falls in terms of a balance level, in terms of hero prioritization, but I definitely think his kit's got enough, he'll never be terrible. And he needed the nerfing. I think so far, when it looks at some of the numbers, he falls, I think, at a pretty good level, and I agree that he does provide that special effect that you were kind of talking about, Gerd. So I like it. I agree. It's a good change.
Bakery?
Yeah, I just feel like in general with the support nerfs over the past decades, I want more powerful heroes just to feel impactful. So I think Xul is a fine hero, and like the nerf was fine. And just buff other heroes instead of nerfing what obviously looks OP, but just make OP the meta. So I don't feel like
the Dota strategy
miss a lot. Yeah, I really like the
nothing's
Dota
broken
strategy.
if everything's broken.
No, like I gotta admit, it's just Heroes is basically the MOBA of 40-year-olds, because like the enjoyment. No, like let me finish that.
Okay.
Like the enjoyment that you get out of this game is only there if you have a team. So them like only having solo and duo queue right now, and if I'm not grubby and people don't recognize me, and I can't type like a fucking alien, then there's no way I will be on the same page with my team. So just give everyone something that he feels impactful with, and I don't know, and we're good to go. Like I just want my cleanse back. What the heck?
So I'm going to hop on what Dred said about the whole, it's really obvious. And I'm not even kidding when I say, I think the main reason why he's been so successful in Hero League, like so successful, is not actually his numbers or his kit. It's because when you put that route on someone, everyone on your team is like, oh, that guy's about to get rated. We can kill him. That's the only time when people in Hero League actually focus a target. Like, that's why he's so good in Hero League. I'm not even kidding. But, yeah, no, just to touch on the hero as well. I was actually pretty scared when I saw him nerfing his damage instead of his utility. Because in general, low damage specialists have a really hard time. But I think they pretty much nailed the numbers. Like, it feels like his damage is enough that he's a threat without making him oppressive in terms of damage. And he still has all of the utility of a specialist. So I think they pretty much nailed the numbers on his kit with this iteration.
I think Poison Nova is still a problem, personally.
It's huge damage still.
That's the only thing I have a problem with. It's just stupid. It's just...
I'm surprised it didn't even get tweaked.
You can't press the R button and hit an entire team and then have them all just sit there and be like, we're alive, but we aren't, guys. Like, it's only a matter of time. Like, it's like literally just like, it's like the Titanic scene. Everybody's sitting there and their health bars are just like beep, 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 beep.
Yeah.
You're like, Jack, don't let go, don't let go. And it's just like, it's gonna happen, dude. It's only a matter of time.
Yeah, okay. So Poison Nova is definitely an issue. His basic kit, though, I think is pretty nailed.
Okay.
No, I like all of it, but I just hate Poison Nova damage. It needs to be adjusted.
Hey, so a quick question. Why on earth, on Hot Slugs of all things, is Skeletal Mages such a high win rate in comparison to the other? What is
Healy
going
has
on?
also
Because
been
this kit is
notoriously
good
one of the
enough.
most dominant heroes in all of Hot Slogs. So, like, let's just stop using Hot Slogs as the perfect reference for the success of a hero. Hello, Kaelaris, is that you?
Because oh, whatever. Dude, it's funny. No, dude, I was already on tilt from the webcam thing, so I changed myself to Punisher. I was like, screw that. I'm not watching it flicker anymore. So I'll get that fixed from next week. But yeah, so Poison Nova, really good, and surprised it didn't get touched. Surprised.
You know, yeah.
Well-
Are you more surprised that didn't get touched, or what about Mighty Gust not getting touched?
That's yeah.
Jimmy, where are you? I will find your house and where you live, and I will earn you. Oh my gosh, it blew my mind.
45 seconds cooldown still, bro. 45 seconds.
No, it's 40 seconds, guys.
Is it still 40 seconds? Oh, okay.
It's still 40 seconds.
Lol.
Those
Okay.
5 seconds, though.
No,
Even that won't
Kaelaris
make a
stuff.
difference.
it's become a joke in our team of directly after someone uses Gust, ask them how long Gust, and then they'll be like, it's up.
That's how it feels, though, right? That's how it feels.
Yeah, pretty much. It's
There was a clip where MII was playing versus was it Virtus? I don't know. It's a Blackheart's Bay game, and I was just showing like on my stream when I realized it didn't get gusted, like it didn't get broken. I showed you, Claire. So the minute that it happened, I walked up and I was like, "Did you just see how much impact like Mighty Gust had for a minute and a half in this game?"
Yeah.
Like it was just like right on the desk. It was literally like he gusted, didn't get the team fight his team wanted, so he was like, it was a good shot, boys. Good job. It was a good try. Okay, we're just gonna walk away. Little skirmish goes down. He goes, oh shit, and just gusts away because this team was about to get bodied. So he goes, nah, dude, don't worry about this. They back out. They get boss, and then later his team goes, all right, this is our time to fight now. So then he goes in and gusts again, and this is like in 2 minutes, and you're like, how can he lose every single fight? Like this should not be allowed. This is terrible. Like why? Why is that a thing? That's like making Black Hole on Gravity, like on Gazlo, like just a start talent. Just like by default, you just get Black Hole. Like and then he gets a reset his ult, and then Black Hole's up again. Just boom, done.
I mean,
oh man.
On the plus side, that'd make Gazlo pretty good, right? Like, yay.
You're not right. That would make Gazlo a god. Are you kidding me? It's a fucking ult, but that's all you need.
It'd be perfect. I love it. All right, so where are we? Where are we after all of this craziness? We are on to DEHAKA. Oh, yeah. All right, so the newest soon-to-be addition to the Nexus. where do you want to start, boys? There's many things.
Okay, so has everyone here played League of Legends, and do you know who the champion Skarner is?
Yeah, that's what I was
Kaelaris?
thinking.
Skarner. He's a scorpion, right?
It's the purple
Yeah,
scorpion.
Get on my team, and it just.
Yeah, so, but basically, right, DEHAKA, like, Skarner's a hero that was nerfed consistently because his ultimate was absolutely broken in League. And then eventually, literally released a patch where they just removed the hero. Like, they put his health to, like, 2 HP, and they put his damage to, like, 1. And they were like, oh, it's just too broken, guys. We tried. And that was literally the patch note. And then I look at the ability beavers for DEHAKA, and I see his basic ability for longer than Skarner ult at a range, and I see his level 1 allowing him to stack movement speed increases.
Yeah.
So I'm just imagining, right, this like permanently mounted DEHAKA running into a team, queuing someone, and then running all the way away with like 2.5 seconds of this guy being attached to you.
Yeah, he should be able, while having on a leash, to use his mount. I think that would be balanced. Maybe the mount travel speed is fast enough to just drag him into your base and enjoy the kill. I don't know. I'm all up for DEHAKA, even though I'm not a tank player, but I'm gonna slaughter the entire Rift. Oh wait, that's the wrong game with it. I don't know. Like, I want this hero so badly. It's gonna be fun times.
I'm afraid for DEHAKA.
You're afraid?
I think, and like, there's so many variables that come into play, right? Like, number one is his stats. Like, you have to know some of his numbers. You have to be able to see the kind of the animation and how well he kind of expresses to his opponents what he's intending to do. Kind of like Zul's Eve that we were talking about, how obvious the animation is, things like that. There's a lot of variables that come into play, but I feel like DEHAKA, just by reading his kit, is very scary for the game. The main reason is his mobility and his drag. That's all I care about. So I just view it as, when I'm playing the game, I go to bot, like, it doesn't matter the map. I actually looked at each of the maps just to figure out if there was like a certain map that I just didn't think it was viable on, but it's every single one. So you're going into lane, you run a 1-1-3, you're not a big deal. He just disappears, teleports to the top lane, drags him in, gets a gang squad, bam, one person's dead. All right, 40 seconds later, again. All game, 40 seconds, you're dead. I'm just, that's all I see. It's just like, you literally gave him Skarner's ult that you were talking about. Like, that's just insane. But then you're like, well, we gave him Twisted Fate's ult as well. We gave him the mobility of Twisted Fate, but we gave him the ult of Skarner. It's like a double win, boys. Don't worry. And that's not even his heroic. We gave him heroics on top of that.
He could just...
Like, what?
The heroics are something that are pretty amazing as well. I mean, like, aside from the fact that Bush Stalker can appear anywhere on the map on a 40-second cooldown, you're right. It really does feel like he kind of has access to always 3 heroics, like, almost throughout the game, with drag, Bush Stalker, and then either adaptation or what's the other one called? Isolation.
Just like view Dragonshire, right? We know Dragonshire is the map where the lane matchup is really crucial. You can literally never team fight and win Dragonshire just because of the lanes, right? So you're like, bam, you're doing the rotations, your whole team's got a great 1-4, and then you have the 1v1 in the top lane, and all of a sudden, every 40 seconds, you don't have a top laner because DEHAKA goes just nope, comes up there, drags you back, you're dead, and then
if
you're just like,
that he has gust up.
Yeah, but the difference is DEHAKA gets it from level 1, right? DEHAKA gets it from level 1. So.
DEHAKA grabs your hero. You're gonna gust them both.
It'll be Gusception. So it'll be like literally the equivalent of like kind of like a helping hand situation. But Gus comes out, perfect timing with the Q connect, right? Moves them both gusted back. The dream. I don't know, dude. He scares me. I hope he says get on my team though when he presses his Q, just because I think it'd be funny. That was like that was the meme that kind of like, I don't remember what Skarner says. This is gonna sting or something. He says something when he like, because it's Scorpion, right? And he grabs them and he says something, but it's like really kind of hard to understand. And it sounds like he just screams, "Get on my team." So I really want DEHAKA to do the actual phrase, just "Get on my team," and pull you back to it.
So something that a lot of people aren't talking about as well is Dark Swarm. That's an interesting part of his kit. Now, it allows him to move through units, which means that body blocking is something that is actually a big deal in this game. And then DEHAKA being able to do this as well. Surely this is a fantastic A, defensive capability move, and then B, you can even just walk through people onto the other side of them during team fights and then start body blocking them from another side. Surely even Dark Swarm is a fantastic part of his kit here, right?
I mean, yeah, it's awesome. The body, like, there's so many like moments of utility when it comes to that spell. Like when it comes to like even just ganking, because I'm afraid of his laning phase. I'm not even worried about his team fight phase. I'm just worried about seeing his laning phase right now. So I view it as like, okay, so they finally figured it out. You're gonna stop DEHAKA from just bodying your 1v1er, right? So you send two people there. You want a 2-1-2. Okay, but then he goes, nope, Chuck Testa. I W through your teammate. I get on the other side of you, then I Q you through. It's like, nah, dude. And can you Q and W? Because then I can literally pull whoever I want, then I can just walk right through them. Like, how is this a thing? Oh, man, I pissed my camera off.
Yeah, you did.
It's just so terrifying. But again, it's like one of those things where it's like, all it's going to take is like him have terrible numbers and he could be bad. Like, I'm afraid that he could just be insane. But at the same time, he could come out and be one of the most resident sleeper heroes that has come out in a while. So it's like, it's all about how they decide to do things. It's possible. It is possible. Like if Zul didn't have the numbers he had, his kit's still great, but like you would look at him and you would go and he's just dead. And you're like, okay, well that was a good new hero. Congratulations. Like it all comes down to the numbers. We can speculate on kit all you want, but numbers are like equally relevant. You have a god kit, but if you have 1 HP, you're gonna have a bad day, you know?
Yeah. The fact that he's considered tank though makes it scary.
Yes,
like,
I agree.
They could just say it's, I don't know, like melee assassin or something, and due to the fact that he has global TP, can just pull someone with him, and actually I think his E is invul for 2 seconds or something, and he can move through units. I think that's AoE damage as well, so I want to see how his laning phase is as well. But that they actually say it's going to be a tank is going to be very scary.
I mean,
like.
The last two...
So,
sorry, go on, Bakery.
Yeah, there was some statistical analysis, right? And it was based on... They looked at Illidan, and they took a picture of his health bar, and then went into, like, try mode, and got their own health bar to the same amount of stuff in it, right? And from that, they worked out the health for Illidan, and then worked out the health for DEHAKA. And he's got more health than Leoric, and slightly less than Johanna, is what they worked out.
Okay.
So he's actually tanky as well.
Yeah, that's a lot. Like, if you look at... like, level 20, that's probably about 5,600, I think.
Also, shout out to Das Boots. That's a longtime viewer of mine who actually did that. He released that information. He was the one who actually did that. I was pretty proud. But no, it's scary. It's just all scary. You know, this is every hero that's released. You just are like, oh, please don't be a terror. And then they're like, oh, they're a terror. Sorry.
I was going to say...
And then they nerf them.
Yeah, you've got Zul, you got Li Ming, who both have done huge damage, and now a warrior on the cards. If he and with the amount of mobility he's got in his kit, if he has some damage, this could be extremely scary.
You want to know the worst part about kind of like everybody's approach and like Blizzard's philosophy on the game and everything else when it comes to supports is like, so if you release a support. And then you could look at their kit and just be like, oh, this could be really scary. They'll never release them to be like, it feels like they'll never release them to be that just, we just body everyone. Scary. Like old school original Uther, you know what I'm saying? Like can stun and ghost form, sprint and divine storms at 5-second cooldown with like a colossal AoE area. Like that level of Uther with rewind as well. Like it's just like they'll never release a hero that is like, they look at supports and they're just like, you know, his kit's pretty good, but I think his numbers need to be back. It's just like they're afraid, like they'll never do that. And I feel like that's like a role isolation. It just shows like kind of the approach to support is like, you know, you'll be a part of the game, but the minute you become debatably broken, you're the first to get nerfed because you're support, not something else. I wish they would make Stitch's hook on supports. I think screw it, don't put it on tank, put it on supports.
Dude, I really want that. I so want that.
Okay, go on.
But getting back on topic, we haven't even spoken about his ultimates yet.
That's true.
I haven't even gotten to. I didn't even read them. I read global and I read stronger. I was like, okay, that's right.
I thought the dragging is an ultimate.
Yeah.
All right, let's start with the first one. Which one is it? It's isolation. Damage slows and silences for 3 seconds, and then for 6 seconds you lose vision from your teammates. Firstly, super cool mechanic, right?
Wait. It's Nocturne?
It's basically Nocturnal, yeah.
Shut the hell up. Are you serious? How big is that? No, seriously, that's like one of the most impactful ults in the game. How big is that range?
It's 6 seconds. You see about one hero either side of your character for 6 seconds.
So, are you... What? Oh my gosh, that's so scary. What?
Did you read these things?
I told you I thought his Q was his...
Oh, Dread, I'm so sorry.
Oh, no.
I didn't really. I just didn't like. I like. For me, I'm a player who like. I've never had the situation where I speculate about the new heroes, right? And I got sick of like Twitch chat when I would stream, just being like, "What do you think about the new hero?" I'm like, guys, like until I play him, I'll never truly know how I feel about them, right? Like. I can speculate for hours on end, but then they could come out, the numbers suck, and I go, well, all my speculation just sucks. So I've gotten to the point where I kind of avoid that for the most part, but I didn't even think that he would come out to be just like an absolute god at this point, dude. Nocturne, he gets three ultimates from League of Legends in one kit.
Yeah,
that's insane.
That's the thing.
I mean,
That's a dream, dude.
he also has a self ancestral on the other ultimate, just in case you didn't read that one.
Yeah.
He gets what?
A self ancestral.
That could potentially heal for more than
yeah.
ancestral. Potentially.
By the way, do we know if the burrow is
6%
interruptible?
Well,
Like, is it a cast bar? Or like, is it 1 second that you can actually interrupt it, or does he just burrow? Like 2 seconds invul. No fuck given.
Yeah, it did say invisibility frames, right? It did say.
Yeah, but like, can you actually interrupt it?
Well, if he's
Okay,
invulnerable,
does he just? Okay, yeah. Then that's gonna be fun as well.
it must be unstoppable.
I have no clue how they're gonna balance this
Well,
hero.
no. So what it means is the casting of the ability.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Like,
mean,
so-
because
so-
if you can
so
just
when
press
you
burrow,
press E, like it's instant. Whereas
Also,
it's instant. Is it confirmed?
I don't know. It might be.
they haven't released all the talents yet, right? There's been some shown, but also I'm under the impression that there's going to be a burrow and then relocate talent, right?
I also assumed something similar. yeah.
Because they showed that picture, that teaser picture, where he'd burrowed in one location and then was in another spot. So I assume there is going to be a relocation
Isn't
talent.
that his mount?
No, because he wasn't in a bush. His relocated state wasn't in a bush.
Nice.
So this is what I'm assuming is going to be in the kit. And if so, that also sounds kind of amazing, right?
Because I think like the burrow 2 seconds invul, like give it a bit of resistance if he can spec it. That sounds like an ult as well. Like I don't know. It's just the overall kit looks so scary, and with him being a warrior, I'm gonna first pick him whenever I can.
Yeah.
Or direct ban.
I need
but
to double
this
check.
looks-
Like,
yeah.
I need to double check if that was in a bush, because I'm pretty sure it wasn't. Let me...
I
switch to
don't
tanks.
think it was.
No.
Okay.
Yo, can I just say, all I want to do on this guy, I hope to the heavens he can take mercs on his own. The only thing I saw when I saw his like mount going to bushes, I was like, I'm just gonna go on Blackheart's Bay, I'm gonna steal your knights, and I'm gonna teleport the hell out of there. That's all I was gonna do. It's just like I burrow to your knights, I take it free, and I burrow out. And it's just like, and like I view him as like is this a direct counter to like Abathur to some extent too? Like you just like normally you're like, I'm just gonna sit in this vent, and he goes, nah, dude, like this is all me, like. Just any vent you choose. It's like, well, then he'll just hide in the lane. But seriously, like everywhere Abathur hides in lane is right next to a vent. So it's just like, I don't know. I'm afraid to see how that plays out too. There's just like minor thoughts that I thought I'm just like skimming over him. He's just, everything about him is like, I can't wait because honestly, Skarner was one of my favorite heroes from League, or champions or whatever. But at the same time, I'm just terrified.
He looks scary for sure. It's going to be interesting to see when he actually does get implemented. I think we kind of have to move on because we've got we have ranted for sure, but it's been fun. We're gonna briefly breeze over TNL versus Hero from Super League, I think. So, firstly, did you guys actually get to watch the series as a whole?
Yeah, I saw every game.
Okay. in general, what did you make of the games and the team's performances? And we can talk about game number 4 as well if you really want to.
Game number 4 was like we're trying to match fix, but we're actually winning. So I guess we just pick bloodlust stuff. No, that's obviously a joke. Honestly, I have no idea what they're thinking.
The thing is that I thought that Hero were actually going to do really well in the series, and I thought they were going to win 3-1. And then going into game number 4 in their draft, I thought, this is a good draft. This is going to work out well. I thought my prediction was on point, 3-1, great. And then that happened. They went, Bloodlust, Starfall, and Earthquake. In theory, it sounds kind of cool, but in practice, just didn't work out. Like, can we see these more niche picks eventually work, or...
There is no words I've ever heard spoken that fill everything to do with Bloodlust, like, since it's nerfed way back in the day, as of what you just said. It's just like, these sound really good on paper, but it just didn't work out. Like, that is Bloodlust 101 post, like, the reign it had with Tassadar Tychus back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's like Team Liquid in Katowice.
Oh,
Oh, nice.
Got him. Oh,
Got him good. Got my own team pretty good.
that self-body.
Don't worry. Yeah, I don't know. Like this comp against, I think they even had Entomb, but like Entomb, Bubble, and more, and Liming. I don't know. Like a poor Thrall player trying to sneak around and then getting caught in like Entomb 3 times, just getting annihilated from the Liming one shot. It was so sad to watch. I gotta be honest. Like, I mean, I'm not saying Team No Limit played it bad or anything. Like, no, they like when Hero tried to one-shot them, I think they succeeded once or like twice. But Team No Limit basically has every tool in the game besides Gust that makes it impossible for Thrall to get that flank and for Stitches to move onto them and then lock them down. So I didn't get it at all. Like, I think with Sundering and trying to annihilate one with Tyrant Stun right after, it would have been a better comp, but yeah. Shit happens, as we all know.
So overall, throughout that series, the highest prioritization was still Muradin for the most part. Muradin sitting around as like one of the most prioritized warriors. Li Ming, Sonya, and Tassadar was even banned through some of these games. He was banned on Battlefield of Eternity, and then was still highly prioritized as a support. Is Tassadar something that we anticipate still being that high of a priority going into the Korean Spring Global Championship, or?
I'm bad with predictions. I don't know. I don't want to say anything towards that. I just dislike him as a solo support right now. And I'm happy Korea picked it up because I feel like it's a strong pick overall. But I don't know. I think like Rega, Monk, even Morales, and maybe even Tyrant, if you want to go for like early game comps, are just way stronger at the current state of the game. In a double support setup, I can see him working out, but I don't know.
Well, that is typically how Korea runs with TAS. They do run it as solo, but they traditionally their most powerful comp is double warrior, double support because of Tassadar and Sonya.
Yeah, there was some Tassadar Rhaegar that they were able to mix in for sure. Bakery, I see you've opened my lovely sheet to check some of these drafts.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on how these two teams approached it?
Well, I feel like the Muradin, you said it was high priority. It was definitely not high priority for Hero. Like, it's...
They were banning it out from TNL. For the most part.
They were banning it from Noblesse, definitely.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, I don't mean to flame, but I feel like Noblesse is a very volatile player. And I feel like if he doesn't have Muradin, there's a pretty high chance that he's going to get himself into some sticky situations.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like honestly, like Hero's strategy in terms of chucking him on something that wasn't Mjolnir. Like so the one game that TNL actually won, like game 5, Hero played absolutely awfully. Game 4 was like game 4. The one game that TNL won, it was the one with Noblesse and Mjolnir. So I think that's definitely highlighted a weakness within TNL. If you take Noblesse off of the Mjolnir, and he's gonna really struggle to make a big impact.
That makes sense. Well, I think also looking through these drafts as well, Zul did get through, and whenever it did get through, Hero had a really good time compared to TNL. Let's see what else was down the line as well. Greymane was standing out quite a bit from some of the plays that were going on. Zeratul was one. Actually, that's the one I wanted to bring on to. Zeratul, no Vorpal Blade over in Korea. All cleave build, all things like that. What do you make of it, Dread? Do you think it has its place?
I mean, yeah, it's. I think it definitely's got a spot. I don't know. I don't think either one is like a must-have. I think both are kind of situational, but both are really strong. Cleave build is a little more. Did they run it with GP?
Yes, they did.
Yeah. So the GP version, it's definitely more stack dependent, but it's still its damage output in theory is actually insane. But I think both have an option. I just like the fact that Zeratul was still a threat in Korea. Like I said, he's not. He's going to be a hero that I think is some of the higher contention overall in Korea from all regions. Now that everybody's kind of getting their hands on him, they're like, he might be really good still. So
yeah. Okay. Well, moving on now from those games. Tomorrow is actually MVP Black versus TNL, which. Are we predicting anything other than an MVP Black win here?
I think there's definitely a chance that MVP Black can live up to their performance last season.
Oh God, no! Please.
And choke the hell out of the series. But I mean, they are by far the stronger team.
Yeah,
I don't think there's any doubt about that one.
yeah, I agree. I think it's possible, but unlikely.
If you had to put a score on it, wait, what is?
But yeah.
Oh,
is it a best of 5 or is it best of 7?
I'll go 3-1.
Oh. Wait, it might be best of 7. I'm not actually sure.
Yeah, it might be. Let's have a
Oh,
look.
it could be 7.
Where is it?
Still 3-0 then.
Oh, dude,
But I mean, MVP Black right now, whenever I watch the Korean scene, just looks like miles ahead of Hero and TNL right now. But I mean, Bakery's saying it might be choke. It is a best of 7. So what are we kind of predicting overall?
4.
You think 4-0?
Yeah.
As severe as that? Jeez.
I'll give it a 4-1 just because I think at some point MVP will play with their food.
I'm gonna say 4 as well. Like when we with him in WCA, Zaka was like, I have no one to practice with because we're the only ones being able to play the game properly.
Yeah.
And like not saying that that is too cocky or anything. Like looking at the games, I think he was right about it most of the time. Since I last spoke with him in WCA. He's a really nice guy though, so I want him to win as well. I don't know any one of like the other team though, so I feel like I should back up Sake on this one.
Yeah, I actually heard that from some of the Koreans that the top level Korean teams hardly even scrim with each other because they're so worried about like everybody learning how to defeat them, which is a very, very odd way to have a scene, I suppose. I mean, like you look at the NA scene, there was for a long time Cloud9 and Tempo Storm that were just playing with each other.
It was done that way.
Yeah.
It was done that way for a really long time, where they wouldn't scrim anybody.
Yeah.
We would just not scrim. It's just like nobody. All you do is teach others to beat you, so why would you play?
Yeah. So
we're just a nice in EU.
Just too nice.
No, but honestly, like he was literally saying there's no point for us to scrim because
Yeah.
others would just adapt and at some point be able to beat us. So I
So
still
sick.
think MVP is by far is the better team. So for hopefully
All right.
make it a quick one.
Make it a quick one, won't we? Just so we can all go back to playing. All right. Well, that is our TNL hero and MVP section, I suppose. Let me quickly fade that one out, and then we can go over to some community questions because I believe Gerd has to go in about 25 minutes.
Quick question, Gerd.
gotta be
Gerd, have
fine.
you actually? Has anybody here played against both of those teams?
Both, or
Wait a second. No.
I just was curious because I got
we
to
just
play
played
against
MVP
both,
Black.
but very far apart from one another, right?
Ah.
So I played TNL at Worlds and I played MVP Black at MSI, and I know they're so far apart that it's kind of unfair to judge, but just like how it felt playing against both teams, I like TNL was just like another North American team that were good, and where like MVP, it felt like it was just like I didn't even understand how they got a lead sometimes.
right.
So
okay.
it was they just felt a lot more terrifying. But obviously, again, it might be a little bit bold of a comparison. I just wanted to see if anybody else had maybe some feedback on that. So I was just curious.
I mean, I can't even like in WCA we felt so confident after group stages, and then we just got bodied by EDG. I don't want to say anything. Don't worry. But it was really nice talking with them, and I feel like they should be still ahead from at least the passion I could see in those guys. Like they were really, really fucking tryharding. Like from the looks of it, they were like when we beat them, they were like all their hopes were crushed. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I think they tried. I think they didn't like fake group stages or anything. Maybe they did. So I don't know. But they look like they live that game. Like for real.
Global Championship's going to be interesting for sure over in Korea. I'm very excited to see the lineup from the entire regions, especially since there's only a small window where the teams can learn from one another to like see how that's going to go. But anyway, we're going to move on to community questions now, ladies and gents. Again, I apologize for the webcam situation that's going on. And also, actually, I got a question on Twitter, which was, I said yesterday that we had 10 codes to be given away. On the bottom of our overlay, it only says 5 random people will be chosen from the hashtag State of the Nexus. And the reason for that is because, I should have probably announced this a little bit earlier, is that at the end of the stream, I'm going to give 5 of the codes to random people from the Twitch chat. So that's a thing. That's where all of the 10 codes are going to go in total. And also a big thank you to Blizzard for providing us with those codes. They gave us 2 of each skin and hero in that little picture down at the very bottom. Okay, community questions, boys. After the so Rob Paris asks our first question. After the shenanigans involving Glaurung at the NA Regional, a lot of comments were made
Good one.
about how he was notorious for talking shit in scrims. What are scrims actually like? Is there a lot of shit talking between the teams? How useful are they to the teams? Do you try to hide as much as possible from your opponents, or are you trying so much stuff that it doesn't matter? Who wants to open up?
Let's go on a rant. I can't speak for NA and for Korea, but in EU there's no shit talking at all.
No.
We actually, I mean, okay, I think there's a small difference in how every team handles it before big events. So before Katowice, we scrimmed Navi and I think MYI and didn't really want to scrim Dignitas, but I actually think that
Wow.
we will switch that up in the future. Like I've been a bit too focused on not facing like who I thought would advance out of the groups, and like we try to basically scrim the people that we think like wouldn't be a threat or wouldn't be that big of a problem. But looking at our Katowice performance, I'll definitely think about that once more. But there's no shit talking at all. They are pretty useful, like at least Team Liquid. I can only speak for my team. We are tryharding a lot in scrims. Of course, we are testing different picks, but most of the time we just vary 1 or 2 picks to try and see how like a different ranged assassin fits into something, or how a different healer works out in a certain setup. And yeah, it's maybe a bit like in our preparation, it was maybe a bit too much trying, so I can't really deny that. And it's not difficult to arrange them. So like I just talk with Bakery, or Lowell talks with Bakery, or like the other way around. We ask each other for when do we have time. Most of the time it's like 3 scrim blocks, and yeah, that's basically it regarding scrims in EU.
Dread, what's your NA take on that? Been out of it for a while, I guess now, but from before.
Yeah, well, I don't think it changes too much, honestly. It might be true. At least when it comes to shit talking, it might have changed, and it has actually changed by a little bit. So what I do know when it came to scrimming, so is there? I'll get about the kind of shit talking in a bit. So when it comes to how do you hide as much, so it depends how much better you think you are. It's like a constant battle of you deciding how much better you are than your opponent, and what things you want to be learning with, and then how you show them. It's honestly mind games, like for hours. It's just like what you show and what you don't show, how you show it, what you try to do with it. There's like a lot of different variables at play. So that is something that's going to be, I think, specifically, at least when it came to Worlds, Europe really struggled with. And me and Bakery have talked about that a little bit. And then how difficult it is to arrange them usually. It's honestly easy. Everybody has... For the most part, I say that not being the manager. For the most part, though, it's like everybody knows they want to scrim a certain amount of hours. Everybody has roughly this amount of block. Everybody knows. So then you just ask all of them, can I get you here? Can I get you here? You always try and get the best for what your team thinks will improve you the most. So when it comes to shit talking, not really too much for the most part. It's literally just certain people feel that way and feel the need to like go out of their way, and usually Glarung is definitely going to be kind of at the top of that, especially when he has any taste of success. He becomes a little bit more bold in his statements and his banter, and then it becomes just trolling is how it's justified. But but for the most part, like when we would play with Cloud9 and stuff forever, and like it was the reign of Tempo and Cloud9, it would never talk trash. Like once in a while in scrims, you would like say something that would be like maybe a little trash talk, but we were more friends than anything. So like we weren't even like, it wasn't like rude. It was like kind of funny. Like if something stupid happened and somebody just suicided, it would just be like, what the fuck? And then nobody be like mad about it. It would just be like, oh, like, you know, it was just like, well, that was definitely a misplay. Like it was kind of funny more than anything. So holy Kaelaris picture, dude.
Sorry.
What was that? What was that?
I got bored of my webcam, so now I'm just adding random pictures of me from past. That started a while ago, to be fair. Bakery, what are your kind of experiences of scrimming? I mean, kind of probably on the same line of Gerd, I guess, right?
Yeah. So about the shit talking, never experienced any myself. In terms of like hiding strategies and such, in general, we decided in our preparation for Katowice that there's no way that we're gonna face Fnatic. So we can probably be pretty open scrim partners with them. We can show a lot of the stuff that we'd want to practice for Navi and for Liquid. And in the last 2 days of the bootcamp, where we were accidentally in the same place. That wasn't actually planned. That just kind of happened.
Yeah.
We decided, like, okay, there's actually a pretty good chance that we're going to face Fnatic because they're performing really well. And we think that they're going to lose to Liquid, is what we thought, because we hadn't played Liquid. So we basically just lost, like, 16 scrims over the course of 2 days. Literally just like deliberately losing the games, and that is completely useless for your betterment as a team. But it did one thing, and that was make Fnatic incredibly cocky. And so like they told our manager that they thought we wouldn't even make it out of groups. That it was gonna be really easy games if they ever played us. Right. And we all saw how that one went down. So, yeah, it's a lot about mind games. It's a lot about deciding when to show strategies and deciding when not to. But before events, just like in general, I was about to say like now, but obviously it's not like now anymore. Like a few days ago, teams are just playing everything that they have because there's nothing to hide.
Mm-hmm. All right, fair play, fair play. Moving on to our next question from JXD1689. Playing on a pro team is very different than most viewers experience when they play. What are your top tips for playing in things like Hero League, Quick Match? Let's focus more on Hero League, I guess, than Quick Match, because Quick Match is a true clown fiesta.
Okay. Yeah, don't pick healer because you have no impact.
Unless it's Karazim.
Unless it's Karazim, yeah. That's my top tip.
Wow.
Done. No. But I guess since there are no buns, no hate intended, Li Ming, Xul, have some fun, and don't be too salty because it's your team's fault. Yeah, I guess that's it.
Other thoughts?
For me.
Our Hero League experience is as cancerous as yours is. I promise you that. It's literally just nobody not even like having any understanding of how the game is actually supposed to be played for the most part, unless you get lucky enough to be paired with like an entire group of competitive players. Then it gets interesting. But outside of that, it's the exact same thing. So play heroes that are. I do agree, kind of pull away from support as an overall. It's not that you can't carry, it's just that you're dependent on your team to do the right thing first, then you can carry them. So it's kind of rough. But I would say, yeah, like Li Ming and Zul are two good examples. Anybody that you don't depend on somebody else to help you to be successful with, and you can punish your opponents when they make misplays. Obviously, like you can do that a lot with. I like to make sure I have a character who can initiate, but then also kill stuff. I prefer, if I was a carry, I would do like melee assassins. They can initiate, they can absorb damage, they can do a lot of damage. They usually have decent laning phase. They can get mercs. They're pretty much, they can do everything. So I that's my kind of go-to if I was to say, how do you get out of elo hell?
Bakery, any last thoughts or same?
No, I don't really have anything to add to that one, I'm afraid.
Other than Moonfire Malfurion, right?
Other than Moonfire
Moonfire
broken.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks for that. Great input. All right. Let's have a look-see. From Exil, as professional players, what do you consider necessary for melee assassins to be viable? How come someone like Kerrigan... How could someone like Kerrigan become played? What tools or mechanics would you like to see in the future for melee assassins? So that's a kind of multi-tiered question, I suppose. Anyone have any thoughts on it?
Okay, so in terms of what melee assassins need, they either need reliable burst or reliable sustain. And to have reliable sustain, you need to stick to the target, you need to not die, and you need to like do more than a ranged would if you're actually in melee range. Do more damage, like just straight up. So you need to have like more basic attack damage, basically. And to have reliable bursts, you need to. So this is talking about Kerrigan mainly.
Yeah.
Like, they need to not have cleanse, and then you can reliably burst them. But yeah, so in terms of how I would make Kerrigan be played, like her issues right now are it's impossible for her to combo someone because if any support is paying attention, he cleanses. And Kerrigan doesn't land all of her burst, and then she doesn't stick to the target because she also used the gap closer and then stunned herself for a second. So it's pretty hard for Kerrigan to do anything with the cleanse in the state that it is. I'd imagine we'd need to see something, maybe a talent, which is like after you use your Q, gain movement speed, like gain 20% movement speed for 4 seconds or something like that.
Yeah, also the fact that she exposes herself before she even hits the combo. With Thrall, it's like you can just ult from afar and then just walk up to the target. But one minor thing I would also add is the proper support for the melee assassin to be viable at that point of time. So
Yeah.
right now, one reason why Kerrigan sees no play is because
Uther.
Uther
Yeah.
is just garbage. So, like as I think Dredd said earlier, whenever they tweak a bit with Abathur Illidan, and I would add Rhaegar to that, he's scared. That's basically melee assassins in a nutshell right now. Like
Yeah.
a lot of things come down to your support as well to make a pick actually viable.
No, I
So,
really
but
agree.
that's just a minor, like not actually a minor thing. It's a pretty big one, but yeah,
Mm.
like outside of their own kit, it's pretty important to have the proper support as well.
An example of like that, what you just said in action, is actually when Rhaegar was the most dominant. After Tassadar got adjusted and Rhaegar became the most broken hero in the game, we saw a regional tournament that had debatably some of the most hero diversity that we've ever seen. Not because Rhaegar's broken and like you think everybody's hyper focused, it's because he enables a lot of other picks to be viable. So did Tassadar. So it's like the idea of creating balance is actually interesting in the sense that if you have heroes that are enablers of other heroes, that them being powerful innately makes everybody else closer to an even playing scale, even though they're significantly higher than the remainder. But I think one thing that a lot of people, I agree, they either need consistent sustain, consistent burst, like Bakery said, I agree with that. They need a gap closer, and their damage has to be justified by their health pool, which is anything but what exists within Kerrigan's kit. She has a lot of problems outside of that. Like, her kit just has problems overall. But the simplest one I would say is she just can be like, she goes in, and then you go, and what if I just kill you? Okay.
Yeah.
So like, whereas you do that with Thrall and he goes, nah, dude, and then you do that with like even Illidan has like more to kill, like things to be like, no, I'm not gonna die. But Kerrigan literally goes in. She makes it clear what she's gonna do. She tries to make it happen. It's easy to deal with. Once it's easy to deal with, then she goes, I'm just gonna press R and go like this and act like it's like the reverse, like the damage version of Tranquility. But then you're just like I'm not even scared. I'm just gonna turn around and just kill you. Literally, if I am any melee assassin against Kerrigan and she comes in, I just ult and counter engage onto her, and I go, "Welcome to the world of melee assassins that don't suck."
Yeah. Also, the fact that her shield decays is like, I don't know, like there's just no defensive tools she has right now in competitive scene, because you can just wait out the shield if she can't get the combat right. On some maps, of course, like Tomb or something, she will always try to get she will always have her shield up due to the nature of how close the lanes are.
Yep.
But on like other maps, there's just you wait out the Kerrigan shield and then it's half a health bar and you're good to go.
Oh well, Kerrigan. We'll see her someday. Someday.
Hopefully.
I think, boys, that is our time done here, because I want to send Gerd off on his way because he has important business, of course, in the Nexus. No role playing involved. So before we finish things out, shout outs, boys. We can start with Bakery, then we'll go to Dredd, then we'll go to Gerd.
So as always, shout outs to Team Dignitas, and obviously my team. They're really awesome, both of them. And a shout out to everyone who tuned in for my stream today, because I've got some sexy new emotes. One of them's in the chat right now.
Where did you find the hand? Where did you find the hand, though?
I just googled hand.
It literally, it's the first thing.
What the fuck? I wasn't there yesterday. Okay. I thought you would make up something real quick.
Fair not.
Oh my god. I need to... Go on.
On my front, I just got shout out to Temple Storm for supporting me and everything that I've done. Shout out to all the viewers who support me, what enabled me to be able to kind of do what I do, because I kind of dabble a little bit of everything at this point, and it seems like you guys support me for the most part on almost all fronts, which I am very lucky to have happen. Shout out to everybody here tuning in today, because State of the Nexus is actually, I feel like it's got a pretty bright future, and I like where it's headed. So that's going to be awesome. You guys can follow me at Tempo Dread. YouTube is Dreadnought's Videos. Still working on that URL. Not 100% finalized, but for now, Dreadnought's Videos. Twitch is Dreadnought_Heroes, and I think that's all relevant URLs.
And finally, you, Gerd.
So yeah, big shout out to Team Liquid, obviously to my team. We'll try to, like, after Katowice, recover a bit and bring it back. It was like definitely terrible what we experienced there, so we'll be back stronger. Yeah, shout out to everyone watching right now. At some point I will stream again, but I'm not gonna make any predictions. I don't know. I hope that I can get my partner soon, and then we'll see some streams. I hope so. You can follow me at Liquid Gerd on Twitter, and thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for coming along, buddy. Hopefully we'll have you in the future as well, as long as you're willing to. Even if you're not willing to, I'll just make you to. It's fine. Other than that, thank you very much for tuning in, ladies and gents. Sorry for my webcam issues. I will have them fixed for next week. At least we didn't disconnect, which is the best. Make sure to follow us at State of the Nexus on Twitter, as well as myself at Kaelaris. I'm also doing lore videos now as well, which is really, really fun. I had to get that in there. Come on, guys. That's fine.
There's a great one about DEHAKA, right?
Yeah, there is actually.
Yeah. I thought it was a great video.
Oh, thank you very much.
Although, actually, the Primal Zerg could do that before.
Oh my god. Oh. I'm already on tilt from the webcam. Never mind everything else. All right. Stick around, ladies and gents, if you want to win some codes in the chat. I am going to disconnect these guys from the Skype call and stick around and do that with you guys. And then also make sure to hashtag State of the Nexus on Twitter to win 5 other codes. So bye for now, fellas. I shall see you in just a bit next week, probably, and I'll talk to you on Skype. So see you in a bit, guys.
See you, nerds.
Bye.